Thank you so much for staying with us. It's still this morning on ITV, reaching you live from our Benin Network studio. Daniel Prezos Adebama is my name. We're going to be looking at the budget paddling. We have live here in the studio Dr. Emeka Herin Obidi. He's a global affairs analyst and a movie producer. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Good to see you. And of course, joining us virtually is our comrade Kelly Ogbailoi. He joins us virtually from Benin City. Good morning, Comrade Kelly.
Yeah, good morning, my brother. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty fine. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get to Dr. Herin Obidi. Yes. Let's start with the budget padding. It was serious. Yeah. For a very long time, we've not really seen this kind of rancor at the Harlow chamber. But it happened recently where we saw a high-ranking senator walked out of the chamber and was suspended because he felt he actually had an information that others doesn't have. What says you?
Well, on the issue of the budget padding, I know it's expressed extensively now. There is a high level of awareness now, but I must tell you that the issue of budget padding did not just start today. It's been there all of this while. For the benefit of those who may not understand what we're talking about, budget padding is the process, the act of increasing the budget and then beyond what it's expected to be, and then presenting it. And that is in no way a positive light. You know, it's not positive in any way to any society. In fact, I could describe it as a societal evil. That's the budget padding. But then I'm happy that right now we are having a lot of awareness on it. I'm happy about what happened to a very large extent. And I'm happy that people are beginning to wake up and do what is right.
Talking about waking up and doing what is right, is it proper for the Harlow chamber to suspend its own member who has been with them? Is it proper? Well, it's constitutional.
As long as it's constitutional, then it's proper, because constitution is a body that governs the activities of a group of people, and they have all agreed to go in lieu or in line with the constitution. So I would not want to say if it's proper or if it's not proper, but I would say that as long as it's constitutional, then it's the right thing to do.
Okay, Comrade Ogbailoi, I would like you to share your thought with us. What says you?
Come again.
We are still on the issue of the budget padding. What's your thought?
Yes. Well, a budget padding, as rightly explained by my friend there, it's an act that should not be allowed. It's silly of a kind, done differently, and so it's certainly not going to be a practice that supports, international practices, and will support honesty in terms of having people put in that place to represent quite a number of persons within the society. And so, for me, it's an act that is condemnable. It's an act that is corruption-laden, and that shouldn't be, and it's criminal. It should not be allowed.
If we're saying it shouldn't be allowed, but the high-ranking senator actually felt he had enough information, and he felt those information would have been accepted by the House. But however, they are saying, well, you actually went off the radar to go grant an interview to the Hausa version of BBC, and that actually led to a lot of controversy. Do you think the Senate was too fast to take their decision on him?
Well, to me, when it is a matter of criminality, then what decency are we expecting from it? Budget padding itself is criminal. So how do you make comparison with a man who goes to speak about it and a man who has done the act? And so here it's like looking at the log in the other man's eyes and leaving the speck, and the speck in the other man's eye and leaving the log on our own. So you cannot, those who come to equity must come with clean hands. You could have not, could have committed a crime on one hand, and then you are looking at another as to be too severe. So the two issues are likely to, you an act that is criminal here, and then you are going to say, oh, because the other man went there, therefore it's more wrong. No, that's not right. If it is a normal house affair, a normal discussion that is removed from acts of criminality, then you can then say that law of going to say, oh, why did you first stay back at the home? Let's finish it before going to the press. Can then hold water. Here we are talking about where people have done what is wrong. So then what were the expectations? That we should all put our hands and begin to discuss within the house without making it clear to the people who should be concerned about it. Is that what we are saying? So you cannot commit a crime here and then you are beginning to say that the other man is, the other crime is more severe than the one that has been committed. So my view is that if it's spoken about, I think it is not entirely wrong.
Okay, Dr. Herring, how does this affect our integrity at the international level? Because it seems now we are on the spotlight. How does it affect our integrity?
Basically, to be honest with you, it does not tell well on our integrity as a nation, as a people. Nigeria has gone through a lot of menace. Nigeria has gone through a lot of issues that brings us to the backlight, you know, the negative light in the society generally. I would want to say first, we do not need this. And then I would also want to say secondly, that there are ways and procedures of handling every issue in every organization, in every nation. One of the things that one of the reasons I feel from my perception that Nigeria has not been able to overcome a lot of hurdles that we have faced is the same occurrence that we are having with this budget paddling issue. We blow the trumpet beyond, not beyond its measure, as in we blow the trumpet publicly. We make a public show of every sensitive issue. We do not go through due process. We do not go through a follow-through methodology to make sure that, okay, this is the problem. What are the procedures in changing or affecting this problem? If you look at the antecedents in this country, you would see that any evil that happens in Nigeria, somebody somewhere will blow it up, make a news out of it, and no news have ever survived or created effective results within 6 months. After 6 months, it is faded away, it is washed away, we are back to square roots, we are back to where we used to be. So I think we need to have a more practical, more pragmatic approach to handling issues as a country, as individuals. And because of this antecedents that has happened, I mean, if you trace it back, I don't want to mention incidents, but let's look at NSAS. You know, let's look at a lot of issues that have come up in this country. We just talk about it, we go to the news, we make noise about it, but there is no practical follow-up, follow-through on these issues. So after a little while, you know, we just find ourselves forgetting it. Another news is created, another trend comes up, and then that is swept under the carpet. So I feel that this is not in any way presenting this country in a positive light, and I also feel that we should do a lot of image laundry for our country, because I mean the world is looking at us. I mean, what is happening right now in Nigeria is shameful. It's really, really shameful. You need to listen to what the world analysts are talking about it. I mean, of course we don't, it's a social evil, and then the further we expose ourselves to the public, I think it's not doing us the best judgment.
Okay, Comrade Ogbaloy, but this is not the first time we're having an issue that has to do with the budget. What measures can we take to correct these abnormalities?
Well, I don't know if we will agree with the fact that we're having this absurdity the first time in our experiences in Nigeria. They have always been there, and I also think that from all facets, advices and solutions have been preferred. But what has happened is that taking these suggested solutions and all of that and putting them to use to correct the situation has been the problem. And so if you ask me, I will say first the people must go back and check themselves. We just talk about budget padding. What would be the reason for anyone, placed in that office to do such a thing? If they are desirous to have a certain expenditure have this will be needed, and then we get a proper approval to those requirements. Then to go behind and begin to change it to in a way that appear that it's not regular, it's outside the confines of what would be of a better convention, it's not right. So first, the people must begin to think of changing themselves in Nigeria. Then we begin to agree to obey the rules, the corporate rules that set up organizations, and then we can take it from there. And this is what we can advise in this regard to make changes. Otherwise, we'll continue the way we are, and that will be too bad for this country. People are not generally responsible to rules and regulations that create institution where they belong. There is an inordinate desire to acquire, and that has been also, rubbing up negatively against the society of Nigeria. So for me, is that people begin to appreciate the fact that you must obey the regulation of the place where you are. You must change your ways. You must agree that Nigeria must progress, innately, and then we can take it from there.
Okay. You want to add something?
I would like to add something to what Comrade Kelly has just said. You see, one of the major responsibility, one of the problems we're having in Nigeria is shift blame issue. There's an issue, everybody begins to point fingers at the government, everybody begins to shift the blame and all of that. Let me paint this very clearly. This budget paddling issue is one of the major causes of the inflation, demand pool inflation that we've been having over time and in Nigeria. And if you look into it from the economical perspective, you would see that it is what has dilapidated the economy of this country up to this level. Because in demand pool inflation, you would find that there is more false, monetaries in the public. So people assume what is not visible and what is not obtainable.
Then they change the prices.
And then they change the prices. So one of the solutions I would like to recommend is, I will first ask a question. Who put these people in power there? Is it not us? Is it not the masses? How do you begin to revolt against a government after you have sold your vote to that same government? How do you vote without conscience, and then at the end of the day, when you see the ripple effect of your actions and your vote, and then you come around and begin to fight against what you instigated? I believe that one of the greatest solutions we could have as Nigerians and as a body of people is to check it from the electoral period. Let us check the people we are voting in. No matter how aggressive the government, the existing government is, there is a power that the people have, and that is the power of their vote. If we check the people well and remove this orientation in Nigeria, that okay, it is the one who has the more money that should lead us, is the one who is able to pay us more that should lead us, who is willing to offer us more than the others, let that person lead us. If we do not change that perception, we will keep going round the same vicious circle. So let us start by electing the right set of people, because no matter how much you try, if you put a bad wine in a good bottle, that wine will be corrupted. And then you cannot keep doing the same thing and then expect a miracle to happen. Then one day there will be a different result. Let us start it from the electoral processes. Let us monitor the electoral processes. Let Nigerians stop selling their votes to people who they know will go there and misrepresent them. Let Nigerians stand strong and then face the electoral process. Like right now, we are having the electoral process coming up in Edo State.
Edo State and Ondo as well.
And Ondo State as well. What are we doing about it? What are the concerns of Nigeria? Are we more concerned about how much do we gain? What do we receive? Who will pay us more? Who do we campaign for based on his financial pocket? Or do we say no? Can we vote for integrity? Can we vote for sustainability? Can we vote for someone who is willing to make the desired change that is expected in this country?
So talking about desired change, there have been concern, every right-thinking Nigerian at this point.
DPO, can I make an adjustment to that?
Okay. Go ahead.
You see, what you find from time to time electorally is that the electorates are willing to do what is right, but have there been voting appropriately? Even when you say adjustment to the electoral process, through the rules of the electoral process to overturn, and all this have never been obeyed. So if the quagmire were found as them, and taking it clearly is that there have been poverty fostered around the necks of the people in Nigeria. And so whatever comes, they take. And that is why the processes have been so perverted. You don't blame them, because a man over a period of 4 years, as the case may be, is in total penury. And so when you come to him to say, look, I want you to vote for me, I will give you this and that, he's ready to accept that. So the willpower to refuse that is not there, because a hungry man is an angry man. And so they will take anything. And that's the problem.
Okay.
So what we must say is that whatever government is put in place must not disconnect itself from the people. So the government we have that were not voted. That is the point. They were not voted. They got there by force, by some kind of force via the. This is what happened. So the blame cannot be taken to the doorstep of the people alone.
Okay.
We found out that we have criminals coming to us almost all the time, every 4 years, to be voted for in this country.
Okay, Comrade Kelly. Okay, you want to add something to
it? Yes.
Okay, you make it very quick, because we need to move on.
I need to add something to it. Now, the people who manipulated the data, the people who stood on seats and created change were not actually the candidates. They are Nigerians. Now, we cannot allow ourselves, I know that it's when an abomination stays long in a society, it becomes like a tradition.
Okay.
But how long do we accept this demonic tradition? What is wrong is wrong. Yes, it is true that hunger has been weaponized. So people do not really have much choices. But the truth is, there are people who have choices. And the more we begin to encourage those people who have stood up and said, no, I would not take this. No, I would not do this. I will stand on my right. During the last election, there were people who stood. There were people who were victimized. Why can't we have more of such persons? So I'm not saying that it is a general notion that the entire public is to blame and all of that, because there are people who stood. I'm only advocating that let the rest of us join those who have been doing the right thing, and let's don't give ourselves excuses, because the truth is, no matter how good, no matter how bad a process is, as long as you keep looking at it from a positive perspective, there is always a good excuse for a bad rubbish.